It's Candace. The rumors are true. I am free. Welcome to my locals. So much to talk about. Obviously, I'm going to take a couple of weeks here just to rebuild and to refocus and to create something that is actually mine and something that can't be threatened or taken because it belongs to me. I can't tell you enough how much your support has meant to me over the years. We're just getting started. Join the locals page. Obviously, here you can support me and my work as an independent journalist, as an independent podcaster. We're still going to be doing 5 days a week. There'll be tons of announcements coming in the next couple of weeks. And I guess the last thing I want to say is thank you. For those of you that don't want to be on locals and just want to support in any capacity, you can head to gocandace.com. Thank you, guys.
Candace Owens leaves the Daily Wire and becomes independent. It got the internet going crazy. In this video, we're going to take a look at her visit to the Breakfast Club after leaving the Daily Wire. And she dropped some gems that I think everybody should listen. So let's take a look.
Verbal or life.
Thank you so much for clicking on the thumbnail. But before we look at the video, I want to give a shout out to the 1,630 subscribers that subscribe to the channel and the members. Thank you so much for the support. I'm over here. My name is Noel, battling MS, doing my best to bring out information to you guys. I want to give a shout out to Belinda Joe Wilson. Thank you so much for becoming a new member and showing support for the channel. The Breakfast Club came off as a Democratic left-leaning propaganda show where it was blue no matter who. And they would destroy anybody that would talk positive about the Republican Party or about Trump. And the way that Candace Owens went in there was amazing. Let's take a look.
It's time, okay? It's time. We've been doing this for a very long time in this country. Black America, wake up, okay? They don't like you. They don't like us, okay? There's
so you're
not
anti
America has
yes,
government.
America.
Yeah, like the government, the American government. Why would you think the American government wants to help you? Well, at what point in history has that proven to be right? And I'll challenge that and I'll make it wider to all Americans. When has it ever been the circumstance that you felt that the government really just was out for your own best interests? Think of them as a corporation. They want to grow themselves. They want new departments, bigger departments, larger budgets like any other corporation would want. And they never want to leave DC because we don't have term limits, which we should have, right? If we had term limits and said, you can only serve for 4 years, well, then guess what they would be doing for those 4 years? Trying to shrink government because they'd have to come back out and be us, right? When you look at the way that your tax dollars are being spent, you should be outraged. You should be angry, but stop thinking that the enemy is, they constantly have us arguing against each other, women versus men, black versus white, It's a nonsense. The reason why they want us constantly warring is because it distracts from all of us coming together and taking a look at who the real criminals are. And the real criminals are this small group, this small cadre of powerful people that I think we're virtually all still on a plantation. They just made it look nice. You got a nice chair. We got nice chairs here. But I think we're all still on a plantation.
Shut up.
Now, that's good advice for everybody, for every American citizen. It doesn't matter who you are, or it doesn't matter your culture. What she said there made so much sense. So not only for the black vote, but for everybody in general, stop trying to make the government bigger than it is. It's not really helping anybody. It's actually hurting us more than anything. So right there, she just dropped some truth bomb that I think everybody should just stop and think and say, that makes sense. The government does try to get as big as a company, when it should be the other way around. The government has to serve us. Candace Owens dropping truth bombs. That was pretty good. But what do you think? Comment down below. Do you agree with what she just said? And again, that's for everybody, not just the black community.
Candace Owens spitting bars here on The Breakfast Club.
With that moment, and I was really upset about it, but you're right. I was talking a lot about illegal immigration and saying this is something that we need to pay attention to because eventually the black vote's not going to matter. Something that they worked so hard for is not going to matter. They get enough illegals in. What are we at? 10 million under Biden. And they're doing it intentionally. Like it's going to be the same thing that they did to black Americans in the 60s. What Lyndon Baines Johnson did when he established welfarism and the Great Society Act. They want to get these people in, offer them handouts and turn them into economic slaves that will continue to vote for Democrats because they're getting free handouts. And it's incredibly racist, first and foremost, but because Black Americans are still, a lot of Black Americans, I should say, are still living under this deception that Lyndon Baines Johnson was a good president, even though he was an avowed racist. I mean, he hated Black people. I mean, one of the, so many times, I mean, hard R referring to us as the N-word. I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And this man is being hailed as a hero because he had to sign the Civil Rights Act, essentially with a figurative gun to his head because the country was on fire. You know, JFK had just died, and there were riots in the streets protesting because of racism. And he did not want to sign it, but he did. And with the other hand, he signed the Great Society Act and incentivized welfarism and, you know, programs to incentivize not marrying Black men. You know, to think that we had government agents knocking on the door, going into the homes of Black women and being like, there better not be a man that lives here. We're just here to check to make sure. If you want this check, dad can't be home. Every other ill that Black America is facing today is because we've removed fathers from the home. So I'm like a big, you know, I use my platform to talk about men a lot and the need for male leadership, everything that is so harmful, this, you know, Me Too, false feminism, all of this crap.
So right there, Candace Owens giving a small history lesson to remind us things that we've forgotten or things that we didn't know. It's crazy how they turned the Black vote into a Democratic vote for the next 200 years. Wow. And the thing that she said about fathers not being at home, I remember when I was younger, my father had to hide in the closet every time they came to check to see if there was a father in the house. So I can see how what she's saying makes sense. Comment below, what do you think? Do you agree with what she's saying? Like, I'm older and I remember those times where the father had to go hide in the closet because they were coming to check to see if there was a father in the house. It's crazy, but it's true. That did happen. Let's keep watching. What do you think about the history lesson she just gave us? Comment down below, because this is crazy.
Now, it's first off, trillions of dollars. You're signing these omnibus bills. If you read into it, where that money is going, it's insane. It's literally going, you know, to museums, boards of museums. They're quite literally money laundering is what's happening when they sign these bills. But they keep it so that the information level is so low for Americans that it's like, oh, COVID's so bad. Like, we're going to give you a check that's like, you know, $300. This basically describes welfarism, right? Like, despite the fact that there's been trillions of dollars since the establishment of welfare, Black Americans are poorer today than we were before it. People don't know this, but during the time of Jim Crow, before welfare was established in the 1950s, Black Americans were actually outpacing white Americans in this country in terms of economic growth. And the reason for that was because our families were together. We had good values. The government only wants to give you the bare minimum. But where's the rest of the money? Where is it going? They sign these bills making you think that this money is going to you. It's not. They are stealing from the American people. And you look at your congressman, whoever it is that you guys sent down to DC, and you realize that they're all just puppets. I feel like we're watching a performance, you know, and who can say the most outrageous thing? You know, the Republicans don't want to sign this because they want, you know, slavery and they want you back in chains. You know, the Democrats don't want to sign this because they want grandma to die. Whatever it is, you're watching just to me, it's a play. That's why I don't think. That's why I think if you're Black, you shouldn't be beholden to any political party, Democrat or Republican. Right. I mean, I think that any concept of saying that I am a Republican forever, a Democrat forever, is a nonsense. You know, you should always look at the candidates that are running, and any person that is running saying that they want to grow government is your enemy. Why do you think people give you a lot of backlash for questioning people and having questions? I see all the time with Charlamagne, if we question something that Kamala Harris did, or question something that Joe Biden did, or question somebody that's Democrat did, why do you think our people have so much backlash when you ask so many questions? Well, because I think that they don't realize that they've been manipulated against their own interests. And a lot of it is, you know, when you start telling the truth, you become a problem to the establishment, right? So if you're the military industrial complex and you want people to just kind of sleepwalk into another war, and I'm sitting here telling you that, you know, Pentagon just can't keep finding the trillions of dollars that they send overseas. They've got this budget and they're sending all this money to Ukraine. And then they say, oh, we don't know where all the money went. It's being laundered and it's being sent back to a very small group of powerful people. And so when you have someone like me who's cutting through all of the emotional arguments, you have to turn that person into persona non grata. Right. And what better way to do it than to have their own community attacking them and saying that they're, you know, pro-white or anti-Black. I mean, it's a nonsense things that they say about me. If you listen to what I'm actually saying, I'm sitting here providing a blueprint for Black Americans to get ahead, because it's time. OK, it's time. We've been doing this for a very long time in this country. Black America, wake up. OK, they don't like you. They don't like us. OK, there's so not America has government. America. Yeah, like the government, the American government. Why would you think the American government wants to help you? Well, at what point in history has that proven to be right? And I'll challenge that and I'll make it wider to all Americans. When has it ever been the circumstance that you felt that the government really just was out for your own best interests? Think of them as a corporation. They want to grow themselves. They want new departments, bigger departments, larger budgets like any other corporation would want. And they never want to leave DC because we don't have term limits, which we should have, right? If we had term limits and said you can only serve for 4 years, well, then guess what they would be doing for those 4 years? Trying to shrink government because they'd have to come back out and be us, right? When you look at the way that your tax dollars are being spent, you should be outraged. You should be angry, but stop thinking that the enemy is, they constantly have us arguing against each other, women versus men, black versus white, It's a nonsense. The reason why they want us constantly warring is because it distracts from all of us coming together and taking a look at who the real criminals are. And the real criminals are this small group, this small cadre of powerful people that I think we're virtually all still on a plantation. They just made it look nice. You got a nice chair. We got nice chairs here. But I think we're all still on a plantation.
And I let that play because she dropped a lot of gems right there. Because everything she said is so true. I grew up in Harlem. I'm from New York. And I better not say anything against the Democratic Party because it's an argument right off the bat. Like, the Republican Party is trying to make you slaves, so therefore we got to vote for the... Well, comment down below. Do you agree with her? Let's keep going.
Okay, because I have been feeling like in my heart that something weird's going on with black media. I'm like, what is this trash that we're trying to sell as good music? This isn't black culture. I hate that black people even call it black culture because that's like, no, vultures came in and took black culture, turned it into something else. Like I've said it many times. I grew up listening to Lauryn Hill. Stop trying to tell me this is black culture. Like I grew up in my grandfather's house listening to The Temptations. Stop trying to tell me that this is black culture. It's not. This is rotten.
Finally, Candace Owens makes the case that we were all better off under Trump. Again, walking right in the lion's den and doing this. Pretty remarkable. Vivek Ramaswamy did the same thing. Maybe they should run on a ticket together. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is Candace Owens making the case for Trump and his economic policies for minority communities.
When it comes to like rap music, which could be very destructive, I grew up in an era where you cannot talk bad against rap music, against what they're doing, convincing us that these young men and women are speaking the truth and how things are, when in reality it's just chaotic and destructive. And they let that slide. Why? Why did they let that slide? Because it was destroying the community. And not only that, but we were celebrating the fact that these few men and women are making it, talking crazy. And now people got to think twice about what they're listening to and what they're agreeing with. I see a lot of people agreeing with what the rappers are saying that they're keeping it quote unquote real. But do you agree with what she's just saying? Comment down below. Be verbal.
Solutions. You are literally advocating for the government to come into your check and take more money from you.
Lord, that makes sense. But how were people better under Trump, though? Like, what are some things that you can point to?
Well, I mean, like I said, common sense. Everybody was living better under Trump, but just in terms of the environment for people that were entrepreneurial, definitively one of the first things he did was he started slashing regulations, like, slashing these barriers that prevent people who want to go into business from starting a business because they learned that there's all of these government agencies that are, you got to get this in place, you got to get this in place, you have to get, this license. That's government agencies that are actually standing between you and starting a company. And so on his very first day, he was just like cutting regulations left and right, saying, throw this one out, throw this one out, throw this one out, which freed up the markets. At the end of the day, what I am is I'm a free market capitalist. Free the markets, allow people to compete fairly, stop allowing the government to stop people or, de-incentivize them from creating new jobs. I'll give you an example. A cousin of mine wanted to start a food truck. Great, awesome, would love for you to do that. And he looked into like how many certifications and barriers there were before he could actually start the food truck. That is the government growing powerful. Essentially, you have to have money or you have to know somebody to play the game for you to be able to start from nothing and make something of yourself. Economic mobility is really what it's about. So, I mean, that was one of the things that I loved the most about Trump is that he was very sensible. He has a very good business head. He understands the business environment, and every person should want to, should be aspiring not to work for a bunch of people that don't have your best interests, but to
I
be
agree
able
with that, but so many of his businesses have failed, though.
Yeah, but even failing is a part of the things that I've tried to do have failed, right? And I don't ever let that be a barrier. Like, I think that there's always this psychological mindset of people that are are fearful to fail. That's the best way for things to happen because you learn so much in failure. And people always want to point to and mock somebody for failing. Like, oh, she tried to do this and then she failed. Well, at least she tried.
Yeah.
Right? What are you doing?
And everybody
And I
has
think-
losses.
Yeah, and you
Absolutely.
learn from them. You grow from those losses, you know? And that's enough. Yeah, that's the thing that really bothers me too, is like that psychological conditioning of like, well, what's the point in trying because you might fail? It's like, no, you should try and you might fail. And then you'll learn. And the next time you try,
And then getting down to the root of the issue that both parties are guilty of actually destroying America, which is 100% true. Candace Owens on The Swamp.
Yeah, so I think what you're describing is that there was this fracture in the conservative movement because people realized that when he was referring to the swamp, what he meant was it didn't actually matter if you were on the left or the right. They were all working together in DC and selling out all of America. I mean, there is no reason why you go to DC and become a multimillionaire. You're supposed to be there to serve the American people. You're there taking our tax dollars. So what was happening was these lobbying interests, like, you know, Big Pharma goes down and they lobby and they'll offer money to a candidate to go push a drug like the COVID vaccine, or they'll lobby for war. It's like, you know, biggest lobby, of course, military industrial complex. So we're all suffering. You're going to work because these lobbyists are getting their incentives done by buying out these politicians. And so Trump kind of hit the scene as somebody who wasn't bought and paid for because he didn't need their money. He wasn't like a random congressman going to DC with no money. And he just started talking about the swamp. Like, it's not even Republican or Democrat. And I want people to wake up to that because I'm not here like ride or die for Republicans. They all sell us out. Like, the stuff that they did during COVID is criminal. It's criminal. And
expound on that.
I mean, just the free handouts. First off, trillions of dollars. You're signing these omnibus bills. If you read into it, where that money is going, it's insane. It's literally going, you know, to museums, boards of museums. They're quite literally money laundering is what's happening when they sign these bills. But they keep it so that the information level is so low for Americans that it's like, oh, COVID's so bad. Like, we're going to give you a check that's like, you know, $300. This basically describes welfarism, right? Like, despite the fact that there's been trillions of dollars since the establishment of welfare, Black Americans are poorer today than we were before it. People don't know this, but during the time of Jim Crow, before welfare was established in the 1950s, Black Americans were actually outpacing white Americans in this country in terms of economic growth. And the reason for that was because our families were together. We had good values. The government only wants to give you the bare minimum, but where's the rest of the money? Where is it going? They sign these bills making you think that this money is going to you. It's not. They are stealing from the American people.
I am so glad that they let her speak and didn't interrupt her, because she dropped some truth gems right there, letting everybody know the reality of things. How about letting both parties earn your vote and not just stick to one party? I don't think Candace Owens, she just said is not a Republican, she's not a Democrat. She listens to see what's going on and then make a vote. And I think we should all do that. So that was a great interview. I let that play because she dropped some gems, you know, going on the Breakfast Club and just shutting everybody up. That's the way to do it. And I am glad that they didn't interrupt her. But what do you think? Comment down below. And again, my name is Noel, battling MS, over here trying to provide message for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video clip. If you found value in the clip and you're still watching, go ahead and subscribe and let's keep trying. And like Candace Owens says, a lot of people told me it's not going to work, you're not going to do it. With this channel, it may not work, but at least I'm trying. So if you like what you saw, go ahead and subscribe. We're up to 1,630 subscribers. Again, shout out to our members, Belinda Joe Wilson. Thank you so much. With that said, be verbal on live and comment down below. See you guys in the next video. Peace.
Verbal or life.